Welcome back to viewers. That was our stock market around the world, and our next guest is Mr. Abdullah Ramadhan, who is a computer engineer, and we'll be discussing, and he has expertise as a mobile phone security expert. So welcome to the show, Mr. Abdullah.
Thank you very much.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Before we start the show, you mentioned that you just recently graduated from the United States.
I did, yes, a year ago. I finished my degree in computer engineering. I'm very proud of that.
How was your experience there?
It was great. It was great. A wonderful experience. It's a wonderful program. I mean, people are. I feel very privileged that I was able to partake in such a great scholarship program. And it's just a new experience, and being exposed to such a different culture is very personally enriching.
And you will personally recommend for a lot of the Saudi citizens watching at home to go ahead and pursue their education?
Oh, absolutely, definitely. And I'm sure if they're watching this, they definitely want to learn English, and that's the place to go.
Let them get excited now, because you
Absolutely.
get a new experience overseas.
It's a great, it's a great experience.
It's remarkable support that the custodian of the Two Holy Mosques Scholarship is providing to hundreds and thousands of students, actually. And I believe about 100,000 just within the United States, actually. And then, you know, North America, if we open that to United Kingdom and the other parts of the world. May Allah the Almighty bless the custodian of the Two Holy Mosques as to the way that he is striving to give quality education to the youth of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And we hope that the young people would continue to make him proud and the kingdom proud. But with this, moving on with our discussion, Mr. Abdullah Ramadhan, as we understand that you are a mobile phone security expert and this is your main area of interest. Tell us a little bit about it, as when we talk about mobile phones now, mobile phones are not really for us to keep up with the world or to keep up with social networking, but it has literally become extensions of our hands, actually. And, you know, we feel like, you know, something important is missing. Sometimes we get to hear now our friends or colleagues, especially some of the guys who like to keep their wallets in their hands, sometimes they would come back into the room because they forgot their wallet or keys, but almost never their mobile phones.
Never. I definitely agree with you. I was discussing with a colleague of mine how technology has invaded our lives within the last 20 years and become such a crucial part of our modern day lives. So it was really saying that, you know, when you think about the mobile phone, it's kind of our sixth sense. In addition to the five senses that we have already established, cell phones are our sixth sense. And truly, what you were saying is correct, because you know, slowly all these smartphones and smart devices and mobile devices are taking the place of our personal computers, and now a lot of people have replaced their personal computers with mobile phones. So with that, mobile phones have been susceptible to attacks, to the studious efforts of hackers and malware creators to kind of infiltrate these devices and just gain whatever they can gain out of them, whether they be just personal information, intellectual property, as we were discussing, or simply just actually make money out of it by making their way into your digital wallets like Google Wallet and PayPal. So there you go.
It seems like everything now is like on our phones. We have every type of accounts. I'm sure many of the viewers at home, they have, whether it's Yahoo, Gmail, their bank accounts, app, you know what I mean, like you mentioned, PayPal, all the big ones, you know what I mean? So how dangerous it is now, the technology, because we're so technology advanced, and every year there's something new, maybe twice or three times a year there's some newer phone, same thing.
Right.
How dangerous is it now that more companies are more worried, or say me, I'm worried, I have all my information, that people are now has access to it just from the Wi-Fi, or can access to my phone personally?
Right. So we need, first and foremost, we need to distinguish between the personal use of a mobile phone or mobile device, because, you know, there are phones and there are iPads and so on and so forth, tablets, and also the business sense of the use, or sorry, the business sector when they use when they have access to mobile phones. Now, on a personal level, yes, you want to create you want to protect your private information, private pictures, emails, your financial assets, as you've mentioned, your access to bank accounts, your access to your Google Wallet and PayPal. That's one issue. Now, on another issue, you have businesses that want to protect their intellectual property. They want to protect their intercommunication. So you want to always thwart any attacks that make a network infrastructure of a company their target. So when it comes to it comes to personal phones or personal devices, what you need is, and a lot of people kind of don't understand, or they sort of play down the importance of having anti-malware software on their devices. They think, oh, I just need to get the McAfee antivirus for my computer or the Norton antivirus, but no, that's a phone. It's not but it works in the same way. It has its own operating system. It has its own structure. It can so easily be infiltrated with that. And a lot of people don't even own PCs. They own phones, and they don't understand the importance of protecting it from virus and malware attacks. Now, on the business level, a lot of businesses are aware of this, but a lot of businesses aren't. But a lot of businesses that are aware of that, and when they mainly work in the IT industry, they sort of have a good grasp of what to do in the sense of protecting their infrastructure and their network assets. So what they do is they have their own what's called a private VPN, where you need like a security token to access a certain network. So, and that certain token always gets refreshed pretty much every like 2 or 3 minutes. That way, they ensure that no snooping around happens on their network. So yeah. But we're discussing personal devices.
Yes,
and it's,
I mean, like, if we move away from the larger arena to our world arena. Now, for myself, I am my world.
Right.
And my mobile phone shares a big part of my world and my private life in it as well. Now, there are so many of the people who have concerns, not necessarily everybody who's keeping important files. Some people may have private things in their mobile phone that they do not wish for anybody to see or to have access to. How is it that we can think about our privacy? And recently, very recently, as one of our very popular networks, social networks, introduced the messenger service, it was a major privacy concern for so many of the people, including myself, who is an absolute illiterate when it comes to technology and gadgets and networking, because I do not understand it. And before you download the messenger service of Facebook, it shows you the details of it, and it says that it's going to be able to have access to everything pretty much in your mobile phone, which is something very scary. But then I, on a second note, thought that I'm going to be able to not share any messages anymore with my friends and people I want to write to. And at the same time, when I'm using any of the social networking services, they are getting access to my data and to my details anyway, so forget about it. Let's not think too much upon those lines and go ahead and install it. But I still had concerns for a long time. Tell us a little bit about this.
So it's always a main concern when it comes to mobile devices when you install third-party software. What I mean by third-party software is software that's not indigenous to the phone, that does not come with the actual operating system of the phone, like the calendar, all that. So a lot of people, when I'm talking about third-party software, I'm talking about a very famous game that we all know. It's called Flappy Bird, if you guys are aware of it.
Yes.
So it drove everybody crazy. Now the initial creator of the game has already pulled the game out of the market, but the problem is that there's other people that are hackers, or what I call hacktivists, have made reincarnations of the game where you download and you think this is the actual game, and then you find out, well, guess what? It's a malware device. It's a malware software that infiltrates your phone and pretty much pulls out all the data. Now, you mentioned Facebook, and yes, it was a major concern. Every time we download all these programs, we see like a list of authentications and approvals that the software requires the initial user to approve to. So and you have no option. You want to use that software, you have no option but to pretty much just agree to everything. Kind of like signing on a blank check. So that happens, and there are piracy laws and there are privacy laws. Sorry, and so you kind of sometimes want to just trust that and have no idea, but have no other option but to kind of trust these software because they're world known and all that. Now, recently, even Facebook, you mentioned something about Facebook, and recently Facebook has been asking users to have access to your pictures, and now that's a dangerous thing. I would recommend that you always, pretty much on a weekly basis, just clear out the pictures that you have, because you have family pictures and you have important documents, so you do not want those to be exposed to the world. You know what I mean? You want to choose what you show the world out of your own privacy realm. So definitely always try to back up your device. Try to delete any pictures that you have on your phone. The documents always need to be kept in a safe place. Backups, constant backups are crucial when you have an electronic device. Now, when it comes to messaging, yes, a lot of people are trying to opt out of this, and currently Facebook are in talks, and they're trying to discuss with law firms and stuff to make sure that that this is completely secure, or users can opt out and not use the messaging capability if they don't have that messenger program that Facebook is trying to install on our devices.
Okay. And like you mentioned, Mr. Abdullah, right now it's like the biggest crucial is like privacy, with those pictures or anything like that. Like a simple phone like this. I mean, we all have our contacts, we have our pictures, we have many different apps, we have many different reminders, anything, like whether it's business, because I'm sure we all have private business we have to do with companies or anything like that. And I'm sure a lot of the viewers will say, what happens if I even lose my phone, or I leave it open, or Wi-Fi access or anything like that? Because it's scary. Because when you see in the news or you read an article, say someone accessed someone's information just by the Wi-Fi of the phone. I mean, how scary, and how can a lot of the consumers or the viewers at home do to protect themselves? Because the threat is out there. What can we do to protect ourselves?
So I definitely agree with you. There's a threat is imminent, and most of my professors that taught me don't have any online, which is funny that they don't have any online presence either on LinkedIn or Facebook, which we know are the biggest social networks. They do not have presence. That's how they keep their identity secret, because they understand to what extent can we access and jeopardize personal information. Now you were saying that it was scary, but it's about to get scarier, because a lot of people are predicting within the next 5 to 10 years, Facebook and LinkedIn may be replacing other forms of identity, other forms of traditional identity, like passports. Indeed, LinkedIn.
How scary is that?
It is scary. Like in LinkedIn, you no longer need to get like a document from a bank, your workplace, saying, oh, you work at this place and here's your salary. You can just simply pull out your phone, pull out your LinkedIn account, and just show it to a bank. This is my ID. This is where I work. And then when it comes to Facebook, now these are serious plans, because it just makes it easier for all the governments and less costly. You know what I mean? So if you have the right authentication, like digital authentication tools, and you can make Facebook as a replacement to issuing millions and millions of IDs every year, then why not? So it does get scary. Now, all we can hope is that experts can work on as they progress to prevent, to mitigate any future attacks on our very important identification assets.
But now, like you mentioned, Mr. Abdullah, that right now is like Facebook or many of the professional sites we use. There's a lot of information that we voluntarily give.
Right.
And we know when you use sites like that, you're just like, I want to make myself look good, whether it's a job application or something. Right. So you give a lot of information, private information, extra, and someone can just Google you, someone can just go online, something know everything about you.
Right.
And that makes it a bigger target for identity theft, for many issues with the bank calling you, is this your transaction or anything like that. What can a lot of the viewers at home, or like the consumers, many of them will say, to do to limit themselves? What information will you recommend?
So initially, you need to practice self-awareness. You need to understand that you shouldn't share your entire life on these social networks. Yes, they're slowly infiltrating our lives. They're becoming more and more demanding to participate. When you see other people share their lives, you're like, well, I want to do that too. I want to be part of that social network. But the issue is that you don't have to do that. Do not be tempted to share your information. A lot of people put their addresses on their Facebook profiles, or they put their cell phone numbers, and you get and really, like a few colleagues of mine just a few days ago were talking about how they're getting calls from all these different companies, international companies, calling them from abroad, asking them to invest in this or invest in that. They're like, how'd you get my phone number? Like, oh, it's from your LinkedIn account. Well, a lot of people, with good intent and good, people with good nature just want to share. They're sharing, they're open, you know what I mean? So they put their numbers on there and they put their emails there. But guess what? You get always targeted by the wrong people.
You're making a huge target on yourself.
So that's the first layer of the fortress, if you will. Now the second layer of protection is definitely antivirus software. Every cell phone has an antivirus software. And a lot of times, like Norton McAfee, when you purchase the one on the PC, they'll give you 2 or 3 free subscriptions to download a version of the antivirus software on your mobile device. So let's say you have a tablet and you have a phone, you get free subscription because you purchased the initial account on the PC. So that's one thing you can do. A third layer of protection, what you could do is never get on a Wi-Fi network that does not have a security protocol. You know, a lot of networks don't have security protocols. People don't even know what that is, so you can get on there. But believe me, from expert, I've done my research during my studies, and it's very, very easy to get on networks and just snoop around and look at other people. Actually, I did it for a project for my class where I got into a McDonald's in the U.S. and they have a Wi-Fi network, so I got on there and I could see actually what's called the data packets that people are sending back and forth to websites. I know what websites people are trying to access.
So you can see what they're using.
I can see, and it's associated with the MAC address, which is like the machine address for a specific machine. So I told them, listen, I'm not trying to freak you out. I'm from this university across the street, but I just want to tell you that I know that you just accessed so-and-so's website. And I told him, is your MAC address? And I gave him his MAC address, and I checked his computer, and you can find out what the MAC address is. Get on there, it matched, and he's like, how would you do that? Are you a hacker? I'm like, I'm not a hacker, but you know, I'm studying these things, and I understand that you need to always have that extra level of security. You know, so yeah.
So any good advice that like we'll just learn today? Any free Wi-Fi is bad Wi-Fi, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. Nothing in life is free. Free Wi-Fi is bad Wi-Fi.
Especially the people like when they have a Wi-Fi, like they have expertise like him, they can create their own Wi-Fi and just sit there, just like mess with people, I guess.
There's something called I forgot what it's called, the honeypot or something, where you can actually that's how you attract hackers and attract people. You can just make your own Wi-Fi, get people to come in, and then pretty much like steal data from them.
Especially in the public areas, like say in the malls or something, just have a free Wi-Fi. And people just come to just using it a whole bunch.
So
and just
tell us about it, because I think that from time to time we all use free Wi-Fi, such as when we are having long transit stays at different international airports to even our workplaces now, because a lot of the people who do not use the unlimited data roaming packages would be thinking about where it is that they would be able to use the free Wi-Fi, and of course most of the respectable people would always try to get a real source and not try to steal somebody's free Wi-Fi connection. So now let's say when somebody, like for instance we here at the Ministry of Culture and Information, we are using the ministry's Wi-Fi system, and when we are having transit stays at different airports, we're using those, or sometimes even restaurants. Are these safe for us, especially if we are not stealing somebody's Wi-Fi, but we are having an actual source?
So obviously there's always a password. You have a password that you get, which pretty much gives you a peace of mind that I'm accessing a secured network because there's a password. That's never a guarantee, unfortunately. Now it's based. You always want to think about, okay, who owns this Wi-Fi network? If it's a restaurant or just a little tiny place here and there, then the network really isn't going to be that secure. But when you think about like bigger establishments, like an educational establishment or a government establishment or a media establishment like this one, then you can assume that there are layers of protection. No hacker is going to take the risk of infiltrating the security measures in an establishment like that, because they can be sued or prosecuted. But when you think about like smaller places, I'm especially talking about like restaurants. You want to avoid those. Definitely always avoid those. A lot of people, that's not even what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is sometimes you'll just be sitting somewhere and you'll see a Wi-Fi network that it doesn't make sense for that Wi-Fi network to exist in that place. Like in a public area that wouldn't usually provide a Wi-Fi network. Exactly. You always use common sense, and that's it. Really, common sense is the first thing you should approach when it comes to your security.
But actually, what happens, Mr. Abdullah, is that with people's addiction to social networking websites, a lot of the times your common sense fades away because you are addicted to it. So you're not really controlling your mind or any of your senses, because you just cannot wait to get back and start hitting on higher scores on those games that you're with.
Candy Crush, that's true. I agree with you. Yes, we are addicted to social networks, and we always need to feel connected. We need to know what other people are thinking or doing, or where they go, or what are they doing right now. So yes, we're always tapping into those social networks, but then again, you need to always practice self-control and make sure that, okay, if I don't have access to Wi-Fi right now, I don't need to look at a suspicious network and try to get on it just to have my 5 or 10 minutes of fun. Now, and a lot of phones right now have the 4G accessibility and the 3G technologies that allow data to be sent back and forth in a secured manner. So definitely take advantage of that when you can. It's safer to pay more on a data plan to be able to use more data and to be able to access
Have
the
peace of mind.
They have peace of mind than to actually, because you're secured through the mobile network, right? And I'm not saying that's secured either. I mean, if the serious hackers can definitely infiltrate anything they want to, even if it's like even if it comes to mobile communication.
Less a percentage of actually.
But there's a less percentage of the risk actually happening. You're less exposed to that. When it comes to, I advise, I used to, for the longest time, maybe recently, now I access social networks from my cell phone, but for the longest time I only used social networks from PCs.
Yeah.
I can wait, I don't have to.
Is it true, Mr.
No, but I think that, Mr. Abdullah, people never had, like, if we look back at even ourselves, if you, you always being into gadget and technology, probably if you look back at yourself 4 years ago, maybe you were not as addicted to it as you are now. And for pretty much all of us, it's like, the more we have of it, the more we want of it.
Our lives are more intertobined with the social network.
Indeed.
Exactly.
This is so
and
true.
they connect to everything, pretty much.
Absolutely. So now when we talk about it, you've been talking about mobile phone security when we are giving access to other people into our lives, right, through our cell phone devices. What about, for instance, a lot of the people, when they forget their cell phone somewhere, when they lose their cell phone, if their cell phone is stolen,
Right.
a lot of the times you would get to see them having difficulties and complications if they don't have a backup plan for
Right.
all the data that they had in their phone. But a large number of people we would get to see have a backup plan, but they are afraid about their privacy now because of all those photos that they had in their cell phone and so much of the different things. I believe that people don't really put that much personal information such as bank account numbers, I hope, in their mobile phones or so. And there was a time that we were all asked that don't put your mobile phone numbers as in my dad, mom,
Right.
brother, sister, just put everybody by their name. So if somebody, steals your phone, they would not be able to know all that stuff.
Right.
But what about photos and things? What can we do for our phone security if we lose it?
Right. So thankfully, there's a lot of software that are either third-party software or software that are provided by the major cell phone operating systems creators, like Samsung and Android. Pretty much, it's used over lots of different hardware, like Samsung, LG, and all that. And also, iPhone has the iOS on it, provided by Apple. They all have these softwares where you can access remotely from a PC, and either through remote access, where you can actually have access to any sort of data on your phone, or to actually turn off a phone once it's lost. Once you realize that it's
How
lost.
do you do that?
You can. There's a software that you get it. You download it on the PC or on your Mac, and you connect it to the another app that you download on your phone.
Yeah.
And so pretty much once you realize that it's lost, you looked everywhere, you called it, it's turned off or whatever, you can have that. It either wipes out the data on the phone, or completely just turns it off and deems the phone unusable.
Yeah, it's just the hardware. That's all.
It becomes just a piece of hardware. Exactly.
This is really, really remarkable, so that you would be free of that big concern. So you're just thinking about that small financial loss that you have had by losing your phone, but you have the peace of mind that you would not have access to
Right.
other.
You don't even have to go to that drastic measure. There's also apps where you can locate your phone if it's lost.
That's what I was going
Yes.
to ask you.
Yeah.
It's scary because now it's like, Facebook, all the other people, it's like, well, Mac, when you go in, they show you to your friends where you've been. He's at this area eating this or something like that.
Right.
Isn't that kind of very extra dangerous because someone's trying to find you? You know what I mean? So they just go see you there. You forget your phone, they just take it. They know all your information.
They know
and
where you've
everything.
been, where the
They
places
know.
that you go to most frequently. Exactly. Well, there's lots of software that does that. Notably, Square. I think it's called. I don't even know the name of the software because I don't
There
use it.
are quite
Is
a
it
few
Square or
ones.
something?
Yes.
So that software pretty much checks you in every time.
Yes.
Every
It's
time
very
you check into a place, and you have the option, obviously, of
Turning it off.
or manually controlling it. Some people have it on automatic, so every time they walk by a place or drive by a place or walk in and stay there for a while, it clicks, it triggers it. So and so has been here 15 times, 14 times. So if someone really wants to get you,
They'll just
get
wait
you.
there. Yeah.
Definitely, they'll just wait there for you.
But
Exactly.
you're talking about the one that that you would know where your device is exactly
Yes.
located.
There are apps, yeah.
And one of my friends has been able to retrieve her pad, smart pad that she
Yeah.
left right here in our studio.
Right.
And I was thinking that it's gone because we have such a large number of people who come in and go, and you cannot, think as to where the piece has gone.
Right.
So she had forgotten it right here, and 2 days later, she gives me a ring. and that part of our studio is almost all dark.
Right.
And she says, I left it there so and so on a chair. And then, when we tried to locate it, we actually found exact location and we were able to find it. Even though it was taken away from here, and with safety, it was kept in one of the drawers of our team members here.
Right.
And, of course, they had the intention of returning it, and they kept it switched on. That was the reason. If somebody wants, they can locate it or ask about it.
Right.
But how do we do this?
So, fortunately, a lot of people resort to these security solutions after the fact, after it happens,
After losing something.
After losing something, oh, I wish I did this, I wish I did that.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, what you need to do is have that already installed on your device. You don't want to lose your device and say, oh, I wish I took 2 minutes of my time to download an app, to hook it up to the PC, to be able to control it whenever I want. So you need to do that before that gets because it'll happen. Things happen.
Things will happen.
So you want to take all these necessary measures before it happens. And you know what? I'm out of a very expensive piece of equipment. But not only is it pricey, it's very important. The information in it's worth multiple times.
I bet you ask anyone here in the studio or at home, the information is more valuable than the phone. They say, I don't care about the phone. Exactly. I need their contact, the pictures, everything on there.
In my phone, I actually left a little note. I've done that since like maybe 2008 when I lost the phone and I never retrieved it. So I vowed every time I get a phone, I have a little note by the battery that says, you know what? If you find this phone, I'll give you the phone. Just give it to me so I can retrieve the data and give you the phone back.
So when he turns it, he's like, this is evidence.
This is the evidence, exactly, pretty much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abdullah, for joining us today. It was an absolute pleasure. Any last words you'd like to tell the guests?
Well, thank you very much for having me. I had a great time, and I definitely want mobile security to be embedded within our culture because they themselves have been embedded in our culture. So people should take all the necessary measures. Go as extreme as you can, because really, once it's lost, you would have wished that you have taken all these extremes to retrieve your device.
And we really hope that you're going to come back to our studios, join us with our smart pads and tablets and do those security measures on it, and that we get to show it live on air so people get to really understand what is the modus operandi, because there are lots of people who completely have a blank space in their head for technology, and I can understand it because I suffered through it. So it would be really, really a great way for us to be able to share it with the larger audience.
Step by
so
step.
we will look forward to that, and we'd like to thank you so much in the meantime for joining us in today's program.
Thank you.
And for the dear viewers, that was Mr. Abdullah Ramadhan, who is a computer engineer, specialty and mobile phone security expert. If you have any questions for his next visit, please share with us on Facebook, Twitter, and email. We'll be more than happy to have him here in the guest and ready for your questions for him. Until next, for the moment, we'll be taking a short report and we'll be joining our next guest right after this. Stay tuned.